Hello, everyone. Welcome to Red-Handed Robin. Today, I am getting started in this game. This is going to be dedicated and in honor of one of my subscribers. You know who you are. This is for you. I looked at the list of games that you had suggested, and this one was one that I thought looked appealing. I hope that you and everyone else that is watching this and or listening to this is going to enjoy it. It is a visual novel game that takes place with a thief heading on I believe it was a train, and there are two love interests in it. So it's very, very much I don't know that I'd call it a dating simulator, but there's certainly an element of that in the game. I have not started playing it, but this is a game that I did read the description very quickly, so as not to spoil or anything for myself. I will mention that this is a free game I found on itch.io. They accept donations. I haven't donated as of yet, but once I finish the game, assuming I enjoy it as much as I anticipate I will, I would donate it once the paycheck comes in. I am not a monetized channel as of right now, so it won't be because of ads or anything like that. It'll be coming straight from my wallet. So like I said, out of a paycheck. All right, guys. But I hope that you guys will enjoy. I hope that this game will be interesting. I mean, it kind of does look kind of, what's the word? Not goofy, but like quirky. That's the word. It looks quirky, and I think I'm going to enjoy. I hope you guys do as well, and let's take a bite out of this game, shall we? Let's see, part 1. Do I have to click? Is it going to move? Click? Yep, okay. All aboard the Whirlwind Express, the first ever train to connect the capital cities of Zephyr and Gales. Officially, the most luxurious train in the world, no expense was spared on this groundbreaking maiden voyage. When with one of our private luxury cabins, you'll be traveling in style as we make history on this cross-country trip. I reread the ticket as I waited anxiously in the boarding line. Beside me, my traveling companion spoke in a hushed voice so as not to be overheard. There's blood on it. Won't that be suspicious? Jay, do you see the people in this queue? I very much doubt the ticket taker wants to cause a fuss for some of the wealthiest people in the country. He probably won't even notice. I was partly trying to convince myself. Jay had a point. A blood-spattered ticket was bound to draw at least some attention when the clientele was this important. Won't they check our names? He continued to whisper, but it wasn't really necessary. In front of us, a woman clad all in fur was loudly admonishing an attendant who was trying to shepherd her 5 excited dogs aboard. It was causing quite a scene. I don't think so. There's no name on the ticket. Just relax and act like you belong here. After many angry threats and the calling of a manager, the attendant was replaced with someone else. The woman entered the train, pets in tow, and our turn finally came. The new attendant called us forward and held out his hand. With as much flippant confidence as I could muster, I turned the ticket over to him. As he gave the ticket a thorough once-over, I saw his eyes linger on the splotch of red. So much for him not noticing. Is this blood? Let's say no, it's not. Blood? Oh my goodness, no! It's actually quite an embarrassing story. I've been looking forward to this trip for some time, and the other night I'd had too much to drink. I took the ticket out to reread the wonderful little description on it, and in my excitement, well, you can see what happened. Can you imagine? Me, in my night clothes, absolutely soaked in wine. The fabric is thin, too. I'm sure my servants got quite an eyeful. Right, Jay? Jay rolled his eyes as the attendant blushed and stammered out a reply. Yes. I suppose I can picture it. Listen to me recounting such a lewd story. I suppose you must think I'm very unladylike. I put my hand to my chest and tried to look bashful and demure. It was a stupid thing to be embarrassed about, but the attendant struck me as the type to try and comfort a woman in distress. It's all right, miss. That sort of thing happens to everyone. Sniff. I know you're just trying to be kind. He awkwardly placed his hand on my shoulder. Yeah, already it's got these tropes, so the rich people causing such a scene, like that woman with all her dogs. Why do rich people have so many dogs? I guess because they can afford to take care of the dogs. Although, in a situation like this, they probably would have had their own attendant. Like, I don't know, Jeeves, look after the dogs. How many of them, madam? All of them, all 15. I'd love to bring these dogs onto the train as well. And that person would be handling the dogs, not the actual owner themselves. But I don't know, what was the whole point of the manager at the station replacing the attendant? I guess just for us? But yeah, for us to like go and be like, oh no, that's nothing, and then just go into a big story. I feel like that would be something a rich person would do. They'd just be like, whatever, I'm just gonna tell my story, blah blah blah. And obviously she was right. I mean, he did act very much like, oh my god, this woman's is like all flustered and stuff. I have to do something about it. And then he touches her on the shoulder, and look, Jay looks like he's about to punch a bee. He's getting his gloves ready and everything. And then quickly removed it. Yep, because he didn't want to get hit by Jay. That's what. Everything seems to be in order here. He handed the ticket back to me with fumbling hands. Please wait over here for a moment. Another attendant will be by shortly to escort you to your personal cabin. The two of us left the queue and moved to where the man had indicated. Under his breath, Jay started his usual nagging. You always give too much information. Wouldn't a simple yes or no have sufficed? Jay. Come on, Jay. The whole point of doing all of that was to be inconspicuous as possible. Giving out too much information is very inconspicuous, because people who have something to hide. And people who don't have anything to hide, they ramble. Unless, you're very introverted. But introverts, I would say in general, tend to appear suspicious to most people, except for, other introverted people. But at that point, why would two introverts be meeting each other out in the middle of the day? That wouldn't be the thing. So I think Jay has it wrong, and he is nagging because there's no point to it. I don't know. He's got no reason to, because we did the right thing. I scoffed. Lying is like telling a story. A well-crafted lie becomes believable precisely because of all the little details. Absolutely. I am absolutely in Robin's camp here. Because to make a good lie, you have to make it believable, and to be believable, you got to come up with all this stuff that surrounds the lie. Because people who just lie just off the cuff, offhandedly, they don't have anything that surrounds their lie. They don't have the backstory, because many people can't think of or make up of things on the spot. So not having this information at hand makes them seem suspicious, because hey, if you were telling the truth, you would have had this information, would you not? Absolutely. Did you come up with that yourself? Would you believe me if I said I did? It certainly sounded pretentious enough. Regardless, I'd appreciate being left out of your stories. I'm not as quick on my feet as you. Yeah, clearly, Jay. Clearly. Oh, but it's so fun to watch you squirm. Dots. Another attendant approached and waved for us to board. Just as we were about to step on the platform, however, a man carelessly crossed our path, nearly colliding with Jay. Oh, do excuse me, I wasn't looking where I was going. I suppose both of us are quite clumsy. I beg your pardon? Ah, forgive me, I overheard you talking to the attendant. You must be an earnest person to share such an embarrassing story with someone you just met. Okay, already this seems super suspicious. Although, part of that might be because of how I was quote-unquote voice acting it, but just a guy randomly bumping into our party here and just being like, oh, I overheard your story. We're both clumsy, aren't we? And I mean, obviously it has nothing to do with the fact that the title screen had the same music and that both of these guys were on the title screen with Robin. That couldn't be any reason why I would feel that this guy's suspicious. Not at all. I mean, everyone in the queue was probably picturing your, predicament. Something about this man was setting off alarm bells in my head. Yeah? He's probably pickpocketing Jay as we speak. Was he intentionally eavesdropping? And why does this feel so nostalgic? Miss? You're bothering us. Move. Yes, of course. My apologies. He quickly stepped out of the way. With a small bow, he motioned for us to board ahead of him. After you, my lady. Sudden realization came to Robin. I tried to keep my composure as a realization hit me. I have to get away from him and think. Yes, well, let's go then, Jay. The attendant, who'd been looking on awkwardly, jumped back to attention. Can I take your luggage for you? Jay tightened his grip on our cases and didn't answer. No, that's quite all right. My companion here is more than capable. Very well. This way, if you please. Alright. Once inside, I could see that the Whirlwind was truly a marvel. It almost felt as though we weren't on a train at all. Even my cabin looked like something out of a luxury hotel. Yeah, got the couch on a train. Got what looks like a marble countertop. What is that? Not a cabinet? Is that what? They got the roses and a vase. Got dresser, a bed that can fit 2, maybe 3 people on it. I mean, I see 2 pillows, but I mean, sometimes those pillows are quite wide. Yeah, and you get windows to yourself, and possibly, I don't know how big the train is, maybe just the hallway on the other side of the door. Probably not another room, I wouldn't think, with this being as spacious as it is. This was a giant leap above the lodgings we had grown used to after traveling undercover the last few days. Undercover? Is that a full-size bed? Rich people are ridiculous. What's wrong with normal passenger compartment? I wonder how much these tickets cost. The bed was indeed large and inviting. I wanted nothing more than to dive in and try it out, but there were more pressing matters to attend to. So what are their jobs? Obviously they're undercover for some reason, and they've had places that they've stayed that were not as swanky, so they're not rich. And they got these tickets from some other entity, because it doesn't seem that they got them by purchasing them. Because he doesn't even know how much the tickets cost. Jay, That man on the platform, I think I know him. Jay stiffened, and I could see him immediately assume his professional mentality. How? He used to work for my family when I was a child. We were quite close, actually. That is, until... I chose my words carefully. Jay didn't need to know the details. Until he was let go. I must have been around 10 or so. I never saw him again after that. Putting his hand to his chin, he began to pace. That would have been, what, over a decade ago? Are you trying to guess my age? How rude! He's just like, what? Come on, I'm trying to think here. And she's just like, trying to guess my age? No! He's all business. He continued to pace without answering. It was clear he wasn't in the mood for playful banter. On the platform, he called me my lady. That's how all the servants referred to me. I'm almost certain that was him. Jay stopped in his tracks and thought for a moment. Then he swiftly grabbed our luggage and headed for the cabin door. So, I'm thinking here, the way that Jay is, he seems very much either like a bodyguard and or mercenary slash assassin, because he has a professional demeanor and he has those gloves, and when that first attendant laid hands on Robin, he was like tightening those gloves, kind of like, you know, a boxer trying to tighten their gloves before they get into a match. And then just now, he was doing the same thing when he heard about, like, this being somebody that Robin may have known, what we would have known. What are you doing? This is too dangerous. If someone recognized you, we need to leave. Now. I thought this is how he would react. I even considered not telling him at all, but being recognized was dangerous for both of us. Why? She obviously came from some level of renown, money, or something. She had servants. But what is it about their history? Is she on the run? Was she from a noble family? A rich family, just running away? I don't know. It would have been worse to keep him in the dark. I'm not leaving. Excuse me? We can't leave. You said yourself, after what we've done, it's not safe for us in Zephyr anymore. Oh. By an enormous stroke of luck, we find ourselves on the fastest way out of the country. This is literally our ticket to freedom. Jay stood frozen in the doorway, considering his options. If you want to leave, go ahead. I got on perfectly fine by myself before you started following him around like some lost puppy. That seemed to wake him up. He turned on his heel and glared at me, incredulous. Perfectly fine? You call that perfectly fine? Silence. If it weren't for me, you'd be dead and buried in that perverted psychopath's garden. Whoa. What? Was she, like, kidnapped and held for... Well, she said perverted psychopath. So, maybe she was human trafficked? He was getting annoyed now. Time to start pushing some buttons. And if it weren't for me, you'd be the one holding the shovel. Huh. So he was working for the perverted psychopath? Or perhaps that's what you want, to go back to serving perverted psychopaths. Ah, yeah, I think so. Beating their victims for them and digging their graves. He looked like he was about to say something particularly nasty, but was stopped short by a loud whistle. The train lurched forward and began to gather speed. Well, we're heading out. Shoot. Well, I suppose that's settled then. He slammed the luggage down and stormed over to me, leaning in so his face was inches from mine. You're an infuriating woman, do you know that? I think I'm beginning to understand why that beastard wanted to murder you, even before he found out you were robbing him blind. Whoa, what? What? That that's a loaded statement right there. So, this perverted psychopath wanted to murder her, but she was robbing him blind. So, but he didn't know that she was robbing him blind when he wanted to murder her, the perverted psychopath. So, what is it that was she not kidnapped? Was she trying to use him as like a mark, a target, and she let herself get step into his trap in for murdering? Did she know that at all? And Jay was working for this dude, and for some reason he turned and is now helping. Uh, but why? Why would Jay do that unless the perverted psychopath was somewhat of import? Maybe like a mayor or something? I do seem to attract the murderous type. Maybe I just have one of those faces. Is that a shot at me? Are you conceding that you're attracted to me after all? You're too much trouble. He sighed, resigning himself to his fate. I need a drink. Surely they wouldn't allow their esteemed passengers to go without alcohol for a whole 48 hours. Finally removing himself from my personal space, he began rifling through drawers and cabinets. I thought the issue was settled, but apparently Jay wasn't satisfied. As he searched, the lecture continued. What's the likelihood that the man from the platform recognizes you in return? Am I psychic? How could I possibly know that? Make a guess then. In truth, it was extremely likely that he would have recognized me. He acted like we were strangers. Could I be wrong? Like you said, it's been over a decade since we've seen each other. So it was a decade. Over a decade, huh? So that would make you at least. Got it out of her. Got her. Now who's infuriating? Didn't your mother ever teach you how to treat a lady? He scoffed at that. Only how to do their dirty work. Perhaps you could fill in the gaps for me. Are you flirting? I didn't even know you were capable. Ah, there we go. Opening the cabinet door wide revealed a collection of colorful bottles. He retrieved a particularly dull one and poured its contents into 2 glasses. If he had recognized me, I should think he would have said something. Jay gave a slight pause, but quickly recovered and handed me one of the drinks. Had a thing for you then, did he? But he didn't remember you. So it must have been you who had a thing for him. He swirled the liquid in the glass, trying to look uninterested. And you say you're not attracted to me. Now who's the liar? I'm tired of this conversation. Let's talk about something else. Feeling rather annoyed by this line of questioning, I took a sip of my drink as well. Oop, exclamation. What's going on, Robin? Blech! What is this? It's awful! Jay smirked and downed the rest of his own. Does it not suit the lady's delicate palate? Perhaps she ought to run back to her daddy's mansion and drink only the finest wines instead. You picked this one to tease me then. He did his best to maintain an austere facade, but sometimes someone more playful would peer through the cracks. Alright, well, I say let's go ahead and drink it. It is alcohol, and, thinking about it, I feel like I could go for a little something, but right now, no, we're not, we're not gonna do that. Not today, but, maybe another day? If this is the kind of thing you like, I shall try to lower myself to your level. I brought the cup to my lips and hesitated. It was really disgusting, but I don't want to lose to that brute. I closed my eyes, and just as I was about to tilt the glass back, I felt a hand on mine. Huh? If you find it so distasteful, allow me to do it for you. Holding my gaze, and with both of us still clutching the glass, he drank down every last drop. He pulled away and wiped his mouth, leaving me holding the empty cup. That's an interesting face you're making. Should I have let you try to... How did you put it? Lower yourself to my level? You barely gave me a chance. Afraid of losing to a girl? Just thirsty. A knock on the door jolted us from our little game and back to reality. Yes, you may enter. A train attendant opened the door and bowed. Sir, ma'am, dinner will be served shortly. If you wish, please make your way to one of the dining cars. He bowed again, turned on his heel, and left. A shiver of anticipation ran up my back. Time to have some fun. Come, Jay, our audience awaits. Let's not disappoint them. Jay rolled his eyes and went to grab his jacket. I swept past him and through the door of the cabin. Behind me, though... Whoa! Thunk? Let me guess, it's this dude again. I turned to look for the source of the sound, but there was only Jay. Did he get changed really quickly? He was rubbing a red mark on his face, one hand still on the doorknob. Did you just... Did he walk into the door? Feeling that second drink now, aren't you? Yeah, if you down it too quickly, man. He was the male ego, guys, the male ego. And I say that as a male. I will freely admit that sometimes this happens. Not to me. Oh, never not to me. No, not at all. I am of a higher caliber. Totally. You guys agree, right? I mean, that's why you're here. Because of the higher caliber Let's Plays. How cute. That's what you get for being a show-off. Acting as though nothing had happened, Jay pushed past into the hallway. His face was still red, though whether it was from embarrassment or the alcohol, I couldn't say. Let's go. Being late will draw undue attention. Of course, we wouldn't want that. I followed after him. If it weren't for the countryside quickly passing out the window, one could be forgiven for thinking they were in a very narrow house rather than on the world's most expensive train. After dinner, we made our way to one of the lounge cars. I kept a sharp lookout for the man who spoke to us on the platform, but he was nowhere to be found. This is a really, really swanky, lounge car. Got a bar, got little snacks on a tray, and like really fancy looking couches. Dude, and a chase lounge? Man, what a train. What a train. And to give the passengers an extra air of luxury, there's only 2 stools on the bar so that they don't have to sit next to each other. Maybe he didn't even get on the train. He had been a servant in our household when I had known him. I couldn't imagine he made enough money to fit in with this crowd. I decided not to worry about it and continued to politely chat with the group that had gathered in the lounge. Personally, I'm hoping to find a really nice rug in Gales. I collect them, you see. Good God, enough about the rugs. It's always rugs with you. No one wants to hear about the rugs. Just because you're not interested in them doesn't mean others aren't. Rugs have a rich history. What do you think, Miss Robin? Do you enjoy a good rug? Next to me, Jay snorted into his cup. I gave him a sharp kick in the shin under the table. He's got like a little pained expression on his face. Keep it together. Let's not embarrass our potential marks. Okay, potential marks. So they're here to rob people. And she was trying to rob the perverted psychopath, so of course she'd be trying to rob these people. This is the world's most expensive train, right? And the most luxurious train, so there's gonna be people with a lot of money. I can't say I know much about them, to be honest. Perhaps you could enlighten me later. Though a change of subject might be in order for the time being. Your friend appears to be getting frustrated. As usual, I was quite popular with my traveling companions. A young and, dare I say, beautiful woman such as myself could always find someone to talk to. Having an amiable personality came in handy for gathering information. Yes, of course, you're so courteous, Miss Robin. A lady must learn to be delicate in all things. Well said, my dear. Do tell me, have you been to Gales before? Let's say... Let's say that we have, so that we're well-traveled and we can fit in and they won't be any the wiser. But then as a young woman, maybe they might be like, oh, well, let me tell you more about it. Huh. As a thief, what would you pick? Perhaps you would say you've never been and get them to talk more and then let them offer up information that you can perhaps glean for something about them or their personalities. Like, for example, oh, wow, Robin, if you've never been, you should go here. We're going to be staying at this hotel. Or we like to keep our money here at this bank or whatnot, you know? Maybe that's something that a thief could get. Whereas if you've been there, you have to come up with the backstory. If they ask, oh, well, what was your favorite place there? And what type of place do you like to stay at? Did you like, which of the chalets do you go to? And which one are you going to now? You know, so maybe it's better to not draw too much attention and try to gain information. This will be my first visit. I've always wanted to travel, and this seemed like the perfect time to start. The women nodded in agreement. An express train from capital to capital is a genius idea, and it's so spacious and elegant. It certainly should be. The tickets only cost an arm and a leg. I'm glad for that, though. It's nice to not have to worry about some of the things I might have to do on a more public train. I had nothing to say to that, so I smiled pleasantly. If you think only poor people are capable of doing bad things, you must be very privileged indeed. They say travel broadens the mind. Well, I'm traveling for business, so I hope it broadens my pockets as well. What is it you do, Miss Robin? Wealthy widow for someone so young? Probably not. Let's say we own a business. Because if you come from a rich family, they would have the capital to help you start your capital expenses for a business. And that, I think, is more believable than saying that we were a wealthy young widow, because you would have had to marry young with a young wealthy man and lost him at a young age. I'm a self-made woman. I started a company that makes shoes for dogs, and the rest is history. I have a single boutique in Zephyr at the moment, but one of the reasons for this trip is to scope out a possible second location. Shoes for dogs? Intriguing! I'd love to pick up some for my dear Biscuit. What a smart idea, Miss Robin. You seem to have good business sense. I've been blessed with many talents. What about you, handsome? What's your vocation? He's just quiet. I'm here to kill people. With the slightest glance at me, Jay gave the vague answer we had agreed upon earlier. Protection. The women tittered at that. Protection? How mysterious. That can't be right. You're much too pretty for such work. I mean, he does look like a pretty boy, that's for sure. Having been pushed out of the conversation by these two women, the other men at the table had long since left. Jay was at their mercy, and it was clear he didn't like the attention. He is pretty, isn't he? But I assure you, he's very reliable. Good-looking and capable. You don't usually find that. You're quite lucky, Miss Robin. Surely you intend to lock him away, Robin. If you don't, some other woman is likely to steal him right from under your nose. Perhaps you'd like to come for work for me, love. I'll pay you twice as much for half the effort. I don't think so. The women laughed. A man of few words, huh? I like the strong, silent type. Have you thought about getting rid of the eyeglasses? You look even more dashing without them. I need them to see. No, I disagree completely. They add to his character. The eyeglasses hint at a hidden vulnerability. What do you say, glasses? Am I right? Are you hiding a tender side behind that sullen exterior? I assure you, if I was trying to be symbolic, I wouldn't have chosen something so inconvenient. I need them to see. Watching Jay deal with these women was extremely amusing, but he was quickly losing his temper. Such biting sarcasm as well. Are you sure I can't tempt you away, my dear? Come now, let's not be naive. It's clear Miss Robin and this gentleman already have some kind of arrangement. I doubt he'd easily part with her. It was obvious they were fishing for the nature of our relationship, but Jay wasn't likely to bite. I'd better rescue him, if only to move this conversation along. We're brother? He's my brother? No. They're for protection. I mean, I would say lovers is more likely to be believable, especially if he's like, there for protection, because then it's kind of like what the what was it, that movie The Bodyguard with was that Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner? Like, he was a bodyguard, right? And in that movie they fell in love. I think that's what that was. And, like, wealthy people cheat, even if I guess they cheat if they're married, and if they're not married, it's just, having a fling? They're prone to doing that, right? They have the means, and they tend to be like, whatever, I can get away with it. I suppose I can't hide it. We haven't known each other long, but he and I do have an arrangement of sorts. Isn't that true, my love? Unamused. As you say. I was hoping for a pet name at least. The deep-voiced woman nodded knowingly. Yes, it's clear as day. I laughed and touched Jay's shoulder. I hired him just for this trip, if you catch my meaning. He's been a lovely company thus far. He's still unamused. I hate to ask, but do keep that between us girls? Part of the framework of our arrangement is that other men don't know we're together. Is that an embarrassed look, Jay? Are you embarrassed? Ha! Serves you right. This is for that disgusting drink you made me. The women's eyes grew wide. How fun! You're quite a bold woman, Miss Robin. Good-looking, capable, and submissive. You have to let me know what agency he works for. Jay's ears were bright red, a telltale sign that his anger was at its limits. It took all of my concentration not to laugh. To my dismay, his sour expression quickly morphed into something more sinister. Uh-oh. Since we're sharing secrets, I suppose Robin won't mind if I say how much she likes it when I... Yes, well... Ladies, if you'll excuse us, we ought to make the rounds now. I leapt from my chair and dragged Jay from his own. Yes, of course, my dear. It's a long ride. I'm sure we'll see each other again. Bye, handsome. Nothing. Oh man, those old ladies, they were cougars. I wandered around the other cars, meeting and greeting anyone who looked particularly interesting or gullible. Jay trailed me the entire time, which made it difficult to endear myself to anyone. Not many people want to talk to a woman while a man glares at them over her shoulder. If you don't want to be here, you could just wait in the cabin. That would make this much easier for me. And what is this? I would hope you're not planning on doing anything as stupid as robbing someone on this train. Okay, so he's not in on the robbing stuff. Is he an escort? I mean, was he hired to come help her come back somewhere? Because it doesn't seem like he's interested in helping her rob people, but at the same time he is with her for a reason, and he turned against the psychopath, or the person that was referred to as a psychopath. So what's your deal, Jay? Nothing from Robin. We are fleeing the country, need I remind you? What would you have me do? Sit in the cabin and twiddle my thumbs? Yes, exactly that. Sit in the cabin with our suitcase that is already full of stolen jewelry. All that stolen jewelry. Okay, so he is in on the rob jobs. It's just he doesn't want to take extra risks for no reason. Uh-oh. Jay sees something. What's going on, man? Shoot! The jewels! We left the case in the cabin. What was I thinking? We have to go back. Now. Yeah, because the other guy, he must have come in and stolen it. He forcefully grabbed my arm and started to pull me towards the end of the car. The case is fine. It's locked. The cabin is locked, and we have both keys. This train is full of some of the wealthiest people in Zephyr. What reason would they have to steal from us? Besides, there's security everywhere. You said so yourself. Jay pointed out earlier in the evening that a few of the attendants looked rather questionable. I suppose in his line of work it was necessary to be able to spot these sorts of threats. No one is going to break into our room. But you intend to break into someone else's? I intend to be invited, actually. You're insane. Are you even listening to yourself? No. Dude. Listen to her. She is getting invited. Isn't that how she got caught by the psychopath who was trying to kill her? She was invited, right? Because it didn't seem like he was trapping her. Or at least not from what you guys have said. You need to calm down. The hard part is over. We are currently on a train headed for freedom, and no one is any the wiser. What about the man you recognized? If he realizes who you are, even if he does, why would he connect two and two? To him, I'll just be some rich girl he knew years ago who's run away from her father. He'll probably think you and I are eloping. Interesting. And if he gets that suspicious, I expect you'll be able to handle him. That's what you do, isn't it? He scowled. You're overthinking this. If you're so worried about the case, then go back to the cabin and babysit it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some drunk rich people to impress with my charm and wit. I wrenched my arm from his grip and walked away, leaving him standing there alone. Yeah, he's speechless now, too. It's not the case I'm worried about. As the night wore on, the crowd in the common areas thinned. I intended to avoid the man from this morning if I had to, but he had yet to turn up. I found myself back in the lounge car, drinking with a small group of people. My current company was closer in age to me than those I dined with earlier, a much better crowd to work my magic on. I myself am excited to bring home some exotic fashion from Gales. I just love Galish styles. Did you know it's in vogue for women to have their hair short there? Like a man. Isn't that interesting? Fascinating. She glared at him for a moment and carried on with the conversation. I don't think I'd be brave enough for that. Can you imagine what people would say once I returned home to Zephyr? You might be able to pull it off though, Robin. You have a soft, round face, so I think you would look still very feminine. Not with that giant forehead of hers. He said it so no one but me could hear, but I gave his foot a hard stomp anyway. To his credit, he tried to wince as covertly as possible. You flatter me, but I don't think I'll be cutting off my hair while I'm there. I'm petite already. I'd be afraid of being mistaken for a child. A sharp-dressed man who had hardly said anything all evening spoke up. You don't have to worry about that. Huh? You're much too beautiful to be mistaken for anything other than the woman you are. Jay's unamused. He's constantly unamused. Jay tensed slightly in the seat beside me. Such blatant flattery was likely making him suspicious. He would have to get used to it. Empty platitudes were commonplace with a crowd like this. Yes, I am rather beautiful, aren't I? The man looked a little surprised that I agreed. Perhaps he was used to his compliments being met with blushing denial. But I'm not like that. Mr. Rhodes, I do believe you are flirting. I'm just stating the obvious, though it seems Robin is already aware of her own assets. How straightforward. The elegant woman leaned towards me and spoke in a mock, hushed voice. Mr. Rhodes is quite the eligible bachelor, Robin. Smart, hardworking, and dare I say handsome. Were I not married, I'd be flirting right back. Who says he'd be interested in you in the first place? She gave the man a playful swat on the arm. You should be kinder to your wife. I do believe my wife is drunk. The group laughed. A rich bachelor, huh? Well, I think I know who I'm aiming for now. I appreciate the compliment, Mr. Rhodes. He smiled ever so slightly. You may call me Fletcher. Fletcher, then. There you are, Fletcher. I've been looking all over for you. I froze for a moment as a man's voice called from the car's entrance. As he approached the group, I gathered my composure. I thought you said you were returning in for the night. It's the dude! I intended to, but on my way to my cabin, a couple of chatty women cornered me. They treated me to a few drinks, and now I'm feeling sociable again. Welcome back, Detective. Detective? Oh, me and Robin, yeah, we both said that at the same time. Detective. Previously slouching from disinterest, Jay sat up and subtly tucked one hand inside his jacket. Do you intend to shoot him right here in front of everyone? This is going to be a delicate situation. Hello again, and I see some new faces as well. Ah, yes, forgive me. Robin, Jay, this is Detective Wren. He's with the Zephyri police. Police? This isn't good. Is he here for me? Does he know what we've done? Wait, Wren? That's not the name of the boy I'm thinking of. Could I be wrong? Wren smiled at me and offered his hand. Are you faking being a detective? Just like, oh, Jude, oh my god, my brain is, damn it, guys, I forgot the name of the woman that we're playing. Yeah, but she's pretending to be a rich person. My mind was abuzz with 1,000 thoughts, but I kept my expression politely neutral. How do you do? Robin! Yes, Robin! A pleasure to meet you, Detective. I shook his hand, which he then offered to Jay. Arms still in his jacket, Jay didn't reciprocate. Instead, he gave a stiff nod. Detective? Thankfully, Wren wasn't fazed. Still smiling, he nodded back and took a seat next to Fletcher. A detective. Of course he would become a detective. This was definitely the boy I remembered, but did he remember me too? Robin, huh? That's a pretty name. You know, in Gales, they say it's lucky to be named for a bird. Though, I've never found it to be particularly helpful myself. Wren, is that the name of a bird? Maybe that's because it's not your real name. Okay, Robin's got some suspicions on her. I could tell he knew I was lying. And he knew I knew he was lying. Alright. This was the same twinge of nostalgia that I felt on the platform. A long-forgotten feeling of rivalry that nothing else had been able to trigger. Had I been searching for that feeling this whole time? Corvids are considered especially lucky. Whoever gave you the name Jay must be quite fond of you. Oh, Jay, Robin. Okay, yeah, got it. I'm following. I'm picking up what you're putting down. It made sense that Ren knew I was using a fake name, but how could he know Jay was fake as well? Oh, so Robin and Jay are both fake names, and they're both birds, and maybe he knew that, and he suggested the name Ren as another bird to be his fake name? You mean by parents? Yes, I'd assume they were fond of me. Ren laughed. It was as warm and genuine as I remembered. You're right. Bit of a silly thing to say, wasn't it? I suppose all parents are fond of their children. Nothing. Anyway, pardon the intrusion. Please go back to whatever you were talking about before I rudely interrupted. Oh, we weren't talking about anything important. It was mostly just Mr. Rhodes and Robin flirting. Is that so? How lucky for Fletcher. I would have thought a woman as lovely as you would have been spoken for by now. By now? What's he implying? Let's just say I'm not that old. It's like, come on. Like, he's taking a dig at us? But in the social circumstance of the lie that's happening, you know, being a detective, he can be crass. But as a woman of wealth, I want to say is what she's trying to bring off here. She would... I don't think she would talk about her being recently single, but she would probably say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not that old. Detective, you wound me. I'm still very young. I don't intend to let any man tie me down just yet. Pardon me, my lady. I never meant to imply you were too old, only that you are quite beautiful. You must have men lining up for their chance to impress you. Do you think your flowery words will lower my guard? I won't be distracted so easily. After all, we played this game before, haven't we, detective? You're rather charming yourself, aren't you? I'm sure you have all the girls swooning over you. He laughed again. I'm afraid I've never had much luck with women. I'm not very good at saying no, so I usually end up getting trampled on. But that's enough about me. If I'm being honest, I assumed you and your friend Jay here were a couple. You seem to assume a lot of things. Jay glared at Ren as though he were trying to bore a hole through him with only his eyes. It was Fletcher who finally broke the tension. You'll have to forgive the detective. He has a bad habit of turning conversations into interrogations. Do you know this guy, like, deeply? Have you guys known each other? I'm being rude, aren't I? My apologies. I'm inquisitive by nature, so I can get a bit overzealous at times. Fletcher took another sip of his drink. I do hope I wasn't out of bounds in speaking so candidly to you, Robin. It would be egregious to try and take something that already belongs to someone else. But women are not property. They can't belong to people. Yeah, Robin, give him that face. I tried not to show my displeasure at his phrasing. Exactly! But it must have been apparent. Ah, I suppose that joke was in poor taste. You're not some man's property. I hope you'll forgive me. It's quite all right. You're forgiven. But let's not make that mistake again, shall we? Fletcher gave another slight smile and swirled the ice in his glass. He seemed to be finding this awkward conversation amusing. I'm sure Robin and Jay are just acquaintances. I can't imagine she would be so cold as to flirt with another man right in front of her lover. Actually, I heard some men are into that. Yeah, there's a word for that. They're called cuckolds. That's what they're called. Jay is unamused and slightly embarrassed. And so is Robin. Robin, you said Jay was your bodyguard. How long have you known each other? Let's say not long, which is probably true. It seems like he recently came into contact with her. Although, I don't know. How long ago was that psychopath, right? Let's just say not long. Or, yeah. Yeah. Because quite a while would say that they've been together for a while, which could explain some of the awkwardness between the two of them. But if it's saying not long, could also be like there's awkwardness because they haven't gotten to that comfortable stage yet. Maybe it'd just be easier that way. Although if they start talking in code to each other, not long would be suspicious too. But they've not done that. They've just kind of whispered and hushed to each other, so maybe not long. We only met recently. I hired him just for this trip. It can be dangerous for a woman traveling alone, so he's accompanying me as protection. An excellent idea, if I do say so myself. It is the first train out of the country. I'd imagine there are a number of ill-intentioned people here. Oh my, I should hope not. The tickets are very expensive for the maiden voyage. I wouldn't think criminals would be able to afford them. You have an innocent heart, ma'am, but not all criminals are lowly burglars or pickpockets. Ren, there's no need to scare our traveling companions with your pessimism. You're right. I suppose suspecting the worst is part of the job description. Please ignore me. This journey is probably quite safe. Anyway, are you ladies planning on doing anything interesting while in Gales? My husband and I are going on holiday. I find Gaelish culture quite fascinating. Did you know some Gaelish practice witchcraft? They say the world used to be rife with the occult. Fletcher scoffed. Simple folk tales. If witches really existed, I should think at least some of them would be seen in Zephyr as well. No, it's true. In fact, we'll be arriving at the start of their Autumn Festival. It's a celebration of the harvest season as well as all things magical. The name escapes me now, but it was something rather macabre. I had heard of the Harvest Festival before, but I couldn't for the life of me remember what it was called. It was something to do with scarecrows, I think? Well, we don't know what it is. We can't give an answer, right? But I guess we could just spout something off. But remaining silent is just kind of in between. I don't think there's a negative to not saying something and letting a conversation go. But giving an answer, I mean, if we're right, it makes us sound smart. I'm just going to remain silent. I wasn't completely confident in my answer, so I decided to keep quiet. I have to admit, I've never been to Gales myself, so I'm not sure. What about you, Robin? Ren flashed me a roguish grin. He knows. No, this will be my first time. I suspected if I volunteered anything I knew about Gales, the detective would comment on the fact that I said I'd never been. Damn, that's one of those games, is it? Man, I can already not remember most of the stuff that I have chosen. I am gonna get tripped up for sure, dude. It looks like it was a good idea to keep my mouth shut this time. It's called The Scarecrow's Feast. Yes, that's it. I see you know your Gaelish history, Mr. Rhodes. We're very excited, aren't we, honey? The woman's husband has long since passed out. He sat slouched in his chair, snoring. Oh man, that would probably be me too. Just kind of like I was drinking and nobody's talking to me, don't want to talk to anybody, and just close my eyes here for a second. How about you, Robin? Will you be on holiday as well? Let's see. Let's say we'll be too busy, because we will be robbing people. A festival sounds well and good, but I'm afraid I'll be short on time while I'm there. I'm traveling for business. Ah, that's right, the dog shoes. Oh, so he's been listening in this whole time. So he was listening while we were talking to the, or maybe the two women that he was talking about earlier, that he was talking to, that made it so he couldn't go to sleep. Maybe those two women were the people that we were talking to. Good thing I said we were busy. As I suspected, Ren was already aware of what I had told the women from dinner. Dog shoes? Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. My shop makes custom shoes for dogs. I'm traveling to Gales in the hopes of opening a second boutique. Such a genius idea. I wonder how the process differs from making shoes for people. You'll have to enlighten me. Of course, some other time maybe. To be able to travel to such an interesting event is a privilege. I only wish I could attend as well. Will you not be staying in Gales, Detective? Sadly, no. I'll be returning home immediately when we reach our destination. My business is here, on the train. Oh my! Has something happened with one of the passengers? I'm sure it's nothing you need to worry about. Now, Fletcher, that's not entirely correct. The truth is, I'm here as part of a murder investigation. The woman gasped dramatically, and Ren's cheerful demeanor became something more serious. Hands still in his jacket, Jay made to stand up. Robin, I think it's time we... A murder? Really? Are you allowed to talk about it? I cut across Jay so that he couldn't suggest we leave. Yeah, because that's mad suspicious, my guy. All of a sudden, oh, there's a murder investigation. It's like, I think we need to leave. Yeah, dude, you are so not subtle. You wear everything on your sleeve and you are transparent as all heck. Do you have any idea how suspicious that would look? Use that thick head of yours. Wow, I am channeling Robin right now. If that's your real name. Conflicted, Jay slowly sat back down. His eyes remained fixed on the detective. Yes, I'd like to hear about this as well. Is it anyone we would know? We're not in any danger, are we? The elegant woman leaned in as though she was about to hear a particularly juicy piece of gossip. Oh, Fletcher is like, I don't know. Despite his earlier insistence that the detective was fear-mongering, Fletcher seemed interested as well. Ren glanced around the car as though making sure no one was listening in. Most of the other passengers had returned to their cabins by now, and only a few attendants remained with us. Have you ever heard of a man named Bertram Sullivan? All at once, the color and warmth drained from my body, and the room began to spin. I tightly gripped the arm of my chair and willed myself to focus. It would be the end if I passed out here. Keep it together. Why, yes, he's a famous jeweler. I do believe he's retired now, though. Oh, dude, Bertram, a famous jeweler, and Jay and Robin having a case full of stolen jewelry? A murder investigation? And them being scared about a murder investigation? This does not look good. Actually, he's dead. He was found in his home just a few days ago. Beside me, I could practically feel Jay fighting with himself not to jump up and strangle the detective right then and there. How awful! He was rather old, though. Are you sure it was murder? Quite sure. Last I heard, gunshot wounds weren't a symptom of aging. A gunshot wound. And guess who's been moving his hand into his pocket or jacket pocket? It seems like maybe somebody's got a gun. I mean, yeah, it could be a knife, but gun makes more sense, doesn't it? No, but they can be a symptom of a weak will. I heard through the grapevine that it's believed he committed suicide. That is a leading theory, yes. But Mr. Sullivan was an extremely wealthy and, dare I say, notorious man. I think there are many people who would want him dead. Notorious? In what way? I've always heard good things about him. Yes, to the general public, Mr. Sullivan appeared to be a well-meaning philanthropist. In private, however, I was well aware what Bertram Sullivan was like in private. Oh, is he the perverted psychopath? Did he have tendencies of the macabre type? I'm thinking like really, yeah, a monster. He was rather depraved. Apparently, it was a well-known secret in his social circles that, despite having a wife, Mr. Sullivan often enjoyed the company of beautiful young women. Women who would mysteriously disappear when he grew tired of them. That is terrible, Detective, but it's bad luck to speak ill of the dead, no matter what sort of depravity they indulged in. Maybe so, but as I said before, my luck has never been great to begin with. As a man of the law, I can't abide such disgusting behavior. Okay, so maybe he's not pretending to be a detective. Maybe he is a detective, and he's using a fake name as a detective. Yet here you are, investigating his murder. Tell me, detective, if you find him so reprehensible, why even bother? Wren arched his brows and gave me a sly smile. Are you suggesting, my lady, that I should ignore such a tantalizing puzzle because of my personal feelings for those involved? Personal feelings, eh? If Mr. Sullivan is as bad as you say, then perhaps your efforts would be better spent elsewhere. Aren't there more important things you could be devoting your time to? I'd like to think I'm more complicated than that. Maybe that's why I enjoy tormenting you so much. It's no fun when everyone lets you do as you please. Mr. Sullivan was a vile man, but whoever killed him committed a crime as well. And they did so knowing the police would come looking for them. As a detective, I'm constantly at odds with the criminals I pursue, and I don't like losing. Letting this case go cold just because its victim was a terrible person would be the same as conceding defeat. You speak as though you see all of this as a game. Oh, I most certainly do. One, I intend to win. And if the criminal wins? He thought for a moment. Then, I suppose, they deserve their freedom. Robin is shocked. So she has understood if she wins this game, he's just gonna let her go free. And Jay is also shocked and surprised. Everyone was stunned. No one commits a crime without reason. If they're able to beat me at my own game, maybe they were in the right after all. That's not very moral, Detective. No, but it's fair, wouldn't you say? The question was posed to the group at large, but Wren's eyes were on me alone. What do we say here? Rules are arbitrary. They kinda are to a degree, because the rules themselves don't mean anything. It's the enforcement of the rules that are really the subject. They're the thing that actually make the rules have bite, because a rule is just a statement, an agreement or something, but if people don't abide by them, they don't mean anything. And it's true that what he's talking about is not justice, it's a game. But that could also be construed to the idea that, you know, we're saying like, no, you should be doing this for the justice, not for where do we go with this one? Oh my god, look at the time. Guys, I think what we're going to do is we're going to save here and we'll just pick back up. I think I need a little time to think about this anyways, about which one I would rather go with. But yeah, already things are looking like everything's blowing up. And it's kind of like a cat and mouse mind game between Robin and Wren right now. And I don't know where this is going, but hopefully it's going somewhere really cool. And with that said, I hope that you will join me for the next episode, and I hope to see you there. Until then, everyone, bye.